I said I didn't buy it. And Dr. Stahl's like, well, but if you just think and listen to what he's talking about, so she's trying to get me to really think about this, and I'm going, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And the reason I didn't buy it is there was a whole lot of other things that I was thinking about from a variable point of view. And it's not that I was singing and dancing in the streets about it when we were done, although I went, I was right and you were wrong for the first time ever. But what was good about it was the fact that it gave us a much better understanding to start with as to what really might be going on. And it's not because of some of the things that he was talking about, but it probably has a lot to do with the type of sport and the culture within the type of sport. And by virtue of looking at that type of sport, and you see a large number of people who are black in the sport, people are making that assumption. But you have Caucasians doing the same thing.
What's interesting about that study is that he developed his instrument on trash like psychologists group, and they worked with him, and they put in questions that were psychological majors, and they were saying everything he said about race is, about trash talking, it isn't what they think it is at all. It's really a community builder. It's a way for people to function within a very difficult environment. So it's really positive rather than negative. It's really a focus to get the group through a very difficult thing. It's not a motivator, it is a community builder type thing. And we Dr. Miller did the fact rating on all the stuff and the questions, and we threw out everything in psychology, threw it out. And all the moral indicators we kept, because those hung together. We got something like 0.8 something or other.
So it's interesting because you can do, there's a lot of stuff you can do statistically to just try to categorize things. So statistics doesn't tell you that it's this or it's this. Statistics just is a way to categorize a set of data. And then you look at that and you try to make meaning of it from that. So that it's not that the data tells us this. We just categorize things in a way, and then we try to make sense of what it is. And what was fascinating was I didn't see the questions. I didn't know any of the questions. I just knew what I was working on statistically. And so I said, this is what I see. And I sent it off to her and I said, you guys are going to have to make sense of it because I don't have any of the questions in front of me. I just have the numbers. So question 1 through 18 or whatever is 20, 21, whatever they were, I have those numbers. And I can tell you that these load here, and there's 3 questions to load here, and the rest of them don't load at all. And so I told her what it was, and she had it out, and she goes, well, that makes sense. And I said, I was right? And she was right in terms of how it loaded because of what we were measuring. So statistics gives us a way to kind of classify things. Then she can go back and look at the questions and kind of make sense of them. So the big thing that I want you to get from me today, because I'm going to be leaving here in just a couple minutes, but the big thing that I want you to get from this is that there's generally 2 types of methodologies that we work on. There's also philosophy and history, and we call that analytic methods. And then we have things that would be creative arts and dance kind of things out there as well. But generally speaking, things mostly fall under descriptive methodologies or mostly under experimental methodologies. And you have to be very clear, are you measuring something, doing something, and measuring it again, or are you just really trying to describe it? If it's not really been done before, this is where you start. You don't start with an experiment. If you've never really measured something in here, you don't have a really good understanding of what you're measuring, this is where you got to start as descriptive. If we have a good understanding of what the variables are and what they mean, then we can go into an intervention and we can make a decision about if we do this, can we make a change? So we had 5 years, we have 5 years worth of data to start with. We had a couple of years worth before I did my dissertation. We had a good understanding. We had done quite a few by then because we'd done the whole military academy for 2 years. So we had quite a bit of data to start with. So we had a good understanding of what was happening. Then we could come over and we could start doing an experimental study on it. So where you are, you have to look at what have they done. Don't reinvent the wheel. So don't go out there and try to build something new completely. Look and see what people have done. And if there's an instrument that measures what you think it's going to measure, that measures what you're trying to work on, then use that instrument. Don't measure it. Don't make a new one. That's a lot of time wasted. Build on the work that people have already done. Okay, so look at what's already been there, and then how can you build on that particular piece? Any questions on any of that? This stuff can be really fun. So can this. They can both be really fun. But this is really fun because you get to see really clearly right off the bat is what you're thinking out there, really out there.
On some of your Dr. Bell, so you look at that state over here on the side, and we had invited by stratified sample all of the athletes at Idaho, stratified sample them to take this class. And so we did the class, and so I'm reading their papers, discussions of class, and looking at how they're thinking, whatever. And I knew we had an effect because of how they were responding and what they were doing. But by that time, I'd already taught, 25 years by the time we did that. And we got done, and we collected the data during the Boise State week, right, the crazy week, whatever. And Dr. Beller ran the data, and she came back, and she was just heartbroken. She walked in, and she said, "We got nothing."
This is what happened. This is what my data showed us, is that the class went down significantly, everybody else went up.
And she said, "Look what happened. We did this." I said, "No, we didn't. Your data's, whatever you did, it's wrong. I've taught too long. I know this fact too much. You're wrong." No, this is right. I said, "Go back. You guys look at it again." About 4 hours later, they had to use the old A-frame, the old big frame.
We had to use the mainframe computer, and you had to define the number of columns, the number of lines, and it's no wraparound. It was one step up from punch cards.
Anyway, the next day, she came in and she was just very excited because she read the data backwards.
So all I did was reverse numbers. There was a number of one was course, 2 was the other, vice versa. I must have put it in backwards, because then when I wrote it properly, ran it properly, it ended up, being the direction it was supposed to do. But the really big thing is look at the literature, see what people have done based on what you're looking at. Look at what they've measured. Write down the variables people have measured. And as you're looking at it, then figure out, well, what have they said? What have they found? And which ones can you just lop out of there so that you have something that's clean? It's better to have something small and clean than it is to have something messy and you're going all the way over to Mullen and then coming back to Coeur d'Alene kind of thing. Okay? All right? Wait, yep. I will let you have your fancy dandy little.
This is
And I will.
This is our new tool.
I get to try Motorola radios tomorrow.
You're going to do what?
So I can be in the basement or wherever and people can find me.
That sounds good. All right, are you all ready for your quiz? Yes? A little break. Before I do that, when Dr. Beller's leaving, I wanted to make a point for you, is that my background is French, right? I have never taken a statistics class, ever, right? And you start doing numbers, and I just sort of fall asleep over in the corner. But every study we've ever done, she always calls me in and says, make meaning of this, every time. And why that works is I've taught a long time. I've been in sport a long time. I was an athlete a long time. And so as you are experts, just like Liz and I were talking about the article you read, and I said, there's something wrong here, right? And she said, they kept talking about another pair of shoe. And I ask you what? I ask you, who's sponsoring that? Is it sponsored, right? And that throws the whole thing in funniness, right? You're not quite sure if it's going to get what you're supposed to get. So the numbers are there to be numbers. What's really important is your thinking as you read these articles. Don't believe everything you read. Think about it in a critical format, and when you read it, does it make sense to you? Because lots of times you're going to read it and you're going to say, I don't know about that. There's something haywire here, okay? So you're the experts. Don't buy everything you read.
Don't listen to the statistical experts and they come back and tell you it's wrong. Well, we screwed them all up. And I don't care what your statistics say. I know what went on in that classroom. There's something wrong with your data. Something wrong with what we did. I know the instrument was good, but what's wrong with whatever? And she came back and said, oh, hey, did it the wrong way. And the same thing with Marcus, who went off and got sports psychologist people to help him develop all these extra coping questions and whatever. And I said, you guys, that's not what's going on. I was an athlete. I was a coach. I know how difficult it is, and I know what people do in order to get through it, right? They don't think to themselves, oh, I have to learn to cope, unless somebody tells them that. What they actually do is turn to someone else and they develop relationships to get through it. So you might call it something else. You might have a nice psychological thing for it, but reality, it's all about people and how people function together, okay? So, you ready for your quiz? Oh, yes. Did you cut yourself? Now you're bleeding. Yesterday and you're still bleeding? That's not a good sign.
Can I trade you?
Yep.
Thank you.
You can turn that off now until we're ready. Just remember to turn it back on.